Hi, thank you for joining me for my book launch for Book 3, The Wars Between Us. Um, I'll be dividing it into two sections. So the beginning section, I'm just going to give you a bit of a review of the book, and uh, and then also read a short excerpt, and then I will answer some questions. I won't keep you long, I promise. So this is the book, and hopefully you can see that because it just came out today, and I haven't been able to get the print copy yet, but I will. And I worked hard on that cover, and I I had to find the ship, and the ship there wasn't very many left of them. They were the Corvette ships in World War II, and I I had to contact the museum in Halifax. There's only one ship left, the HMCS Sackville, and I couldn't travel there either because of COVID. So I I had to get the pictures through email and everything, and I got all the permissions from the curators and the photographers with the museum, with the Sackville Museum, and I'm so grateful for them. They're amazing crew there, and then I got my cover design artist to do her magic, and she did a wonderful job. So the book is very dear to my heart. It was emotional journey for me to write it. It touches on many different aspects of human nature and events in our world. It starts in the Great Depression in 1935, and it goes through a man's life from 17 to his early 20s. The book ends in 1943. I decided to end it in before the World War ended, World War II, because I really wanted to highlight and to pull the readers in about it's not it's not the war I was talking about. It was the people in the war and what they had to go through, and especially in those early years of the war. Oh my lord, like these there was couples that didn't see each other for months, and the when the ships came back for a brief shore leave, the men would only see their wives for a day, and then they'd have to go back out on the open ocean fighting. And there's so many lives lost too. Sometimes they didn't come back, and the struggles that the people went through were just massive. And I really wanted to pull the reader into that and really take a good hard look at human nature and what we do when we are struggling, and what we do when we are also in that fight and flight response, right? So and my book also goes into a troubled man. So it is a story of a troubled man, and it's the heroic story of him as well. Um, and the way he overcomes his his addictions, his wild spirit, and the way he develops himself into his own man, the person he wants to be. And I feel that that's really important for all of us, male or female. We need to. The only person in your life that you can change is you. That's it. And if you want to be somebody, you be that person. And I really truly believe that. And then I do go into quite a bit of in addiction. So I chose alcoholism because at that time it was it was suitable in that time. Many sailors, that's what they did. They drank, and they would go out and fight for months and come back and just drink. And overcoming addiction is hard. Sometimes it's impossible for some people. And it's really something we all need to talk about more. So I am going to read an excerpt, and I'm not going to read chapter 1 like I normally do. I'm actually going to read something in the middle of the chapter, and I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be chapter 4, and I don't want to give away too much of what happens during the book, because there's lots of twists and turns. Okay, so I will start reading chapter 4. He awoke in a strange house with blood on the pillow and a swollen shoulder. A little girl's voice was lilting in the air. The smell of ham and soup filled the room. Despite the pain searing all over his body, his stomach growled. "Mama," the girl said, "can we just feed him some soup? It looks like he is waking up." "My darling Magus," Mama said, "his shoulder blade is badly broken. He cannot lean against the bed to sit up." "We can help him into a chair," Magus said pleadingly. Zach moved his lips. It felt like cotton balls were in his mouth. "I can sit in a chair," he mumbled. Magus jumped. "You're awake." Zach opened his eyes, focusing on the little girl. It was hard to tell how young she was, but he knew it was definitely the same girl that had given him the bun at the square. "Thank you again for your kindness," Zach said. "What those policemen did to you was awful," she said, her voice pitching. "It certainly was," he said. "My name is Zach." He held out a bloodied hand. Magus looked at it with a moment of hesitation and then shook his hand. "You will be all right, Zach," she said. "We will feed you and mend you. But then you must go home or back to Vancouver." "I'm from Manitoba," he said. "Oh?" "I came here looking for work," Zach said. "I'm originally from Gimli." "I know Gimli," Magus said. "We went on a holiday there once. It's a beautiful place." "Yes, it is," Zach replied. "If you ever come that way again, please ask for me. We will return the generosity. My full name is Zachary Olison." Magus blushed. "Zachary Olison," she said, almost to herself. "Well, Zach, you are brave." "Thank you," Zach replied. "I think reckless is the correct term." "Those policemen were the ones that started the riot," she said, pointing out the injustice. "Yes, I agree," Zach said, sitting up gingerly, pulling his body upright. Magus wound her arm around his waist and helped him to stand. She was a short girl, maybe only 4 feet tall. He grabbed onto her arm and slowly walked to the kitchen table. Once he was seated, Magus bounded away into the cupboards, grabbing a bowl and a ladle for the soup. Zach devoured the delicious soup like an animal, hardly breathing between spoonfuls. Magus watched him and smiled. "You are hungry," she said. "Many of the men were arrested at the square and the hospital. My father and mother dragged you here. You had saved us from a brutal police attack." Zach searched his memory. "You must have been the first family I encountered when I initially arrived at the riot," Zach said, pausing momentarily, remembering the events. "You are very brave, Zachary." Zach smiled. "What those policemen did was wrong," Zach said. "Yes, it was," Magus agreed. "You need to rest, Zach," she said softly, her brow furrowing with concern. "Lie down." Thank you for helping me, Zack said softly. You are welcome, Zack, she replied. You saved us. We couldn't leave you there to be arrested. Zack smiled. This small girl had a big heart, he thought. Magus smiled back. She wished there was more she could do to help this young man. After several minutes, her face fell into a concerned sadness. You have to go home soon, Zack, she said sadly. Mama told me the newspapers said the trekkers could either return to Vancouver or return to their hometown. It's not safe here. You'll get arrested if you stay. Zack grimaced. I will go home. It was what I was planning, anyways. Maybe I will visit someday. The train back to Manitoba was slow, and every jostle hurt his shoulder and his pride. Boris and Henry were also on the train. They had both decided to come back to Gimli, to be farmhands. The train ride took all day. By the time they had arrived in Gimli, it was dark. Zack dreaded confronting his father. He felt like an utter failure. He jumped nimbly off the train and stepped onto the grass, heading for the shoreline home they all shared. He walked all the way to the beach, and his shoes sank into the sand. It felt good to be home. He didn't know what kind of life he had here, but it was a whole lot better than what he had just come from. He inserted his key into the lock and gently opened the door. His father was sleeping on the sofa. His dad never slept on the sofa, Zack thought. He must have been sick with worry. Zack closed the door gently, but the click still echoed loudly in the quiet house. Nathan mumbled and opened his eyes. At first, he thought it was a dream. Then he realized he was truly awake, looking at his missing son, Zack. And that's all I'm going to read. I got to keep you guys in suspense, right? Now I'm going to go on to the questions that were given to me, and I thank everyone that gave me the questions. I really appreciate that. And just 1 second, and I will pull up those questions. Here we go. Okay, so the first question was this book 3 of 3 books, or will there be more books with these characters? So this is book 3 of 4, actually. So there is only one more book in this series, and but this is the last book in the timeline. So the book 4 is actually a prequel. Yeah. So, and it also says, do you have other stories in your mind that you feel compelled to put to paper? That's interesting that, I actually have so many books planned. I actually can't even keep up anymore. I opened up the floodgates by publishing all of these. So there is going to be a spin-off series of the Olison Chronicles, and it's going to be called the Kozak Letters. And it's because I heard from a few readers that they were really interested in Ivan and Mike and the Kozak family in book 2. And some of those characters are in book 3 as well. And it goes into the Ukrainian settlers versus the Icelandic settlers. Well, not versus, but the Icelandic settlers is what the Olison Chronicles is about. But when they came, the Ukrainians came as well a couple of years later. So in the area around Gimli, there many of the people have a mix of Icelandic and Ukrainian and Native. So it's very interesting, right? So that's why I really wanted to get into this series. I wanted to just kind of bring to light of where these people all came from, right? Now I am going to do the offshoot series. It's going to be called the Kozak letters, and those will be quite different than this series. This series, each book is different from the other as well. They're all standalones, um, and and the Kozak letters will be the same. But it will go into the Ukraine conflict. So 90% of it will be in the Ukraine, and it won't be romantic. It might be quite gory, and it might be quite a lot of more about war and struggles and how these refugees got out of their country and how they came to Canada. So there was yeah, one of them is going to be about the Holodomor. So it would be very intense books. Maybe not what people, romance fiction would want to read, right? Romance fiction readers. But it will appeal very strongly to historical fiction readers. And yeah, and it would give some background explanation to the Ukraine side of the family saga. Okay, so my next question is Zach talks about wanting to become his own man and failing. What exactly made him want to be his own man? Is it what his parents taught him? Maybe it's society and what is deemed to be acceptable. That is a big discussion. I guess it goes right into a lot of those things. The time period in the book is one of the major crises. So the main character, Zach, is 17 at the beginning of the book, and at the end of the book, he's in his early 20s. So it really goes through the struggles that a man takes from changing from a child or a teenager into a man. And I guess, yes, some of that is society. But I think some of it is hormones too. You're growing into an adult and you want to take care of your own life. Part of the other thing is that it is the Great Depression, and at that time there was so much struggles going on with families, and the food was scarce, everything, and he didn't want to burden his family anymore. He wanted to take care of himself, and he really struggled in doing that. And then, is it what his parents taught him? Of course it is. I think everyone is guided by what their parents taught them, and parents don't teach by their words and what they say; they teach by their actions. So, Zach was a descendant of the immigrants, and so his father was an Icelandic settler. So he seen what his father had to go through to get him to have a life in this land, and so he was modeling himself after that. I feel strongly about immigration and refugees. Both my parents were refugees, and I wouldn't be here in Canada without the sacrifices they made. And I am so grateful to them, and I looked up to them to the day that they died. Yes, I lost both my parents. And I model my entire life around that, right? That I'm not going to sit down and accept things that I don't want in my life. I am going to go after what I want. And if that means I have to sell everything and move across the country or move to a different country, then I will do that. Because you only have one life. Maybe we have more, but I only have this one life right now. This is all I got right now, and I'm going to try to make the best of it. Right? So, okay. So the next question is, what do you think makes a good story? Well, with my books, I am a reader as well. With my books, I think what makes a good story is the characters. I love hearing about what my characters are going through, what their emotions are, how they overcome obstacles and the events that are in front of them. But on the other hand, you can't make a book with just characters. So you do need a good plot. You do need a good story, right? You need to be able to turn those pages, and you need plot points, and you need all of it, really. A good story can't be just characters, and a good story can't just be plot. A good story can't be just a good story. It's got to be all of it, right? And of course, writing, grammar. I've been writing a long time, and I find that I really become an editor if I read something and it's got too many grammar mistakes. And yeah, so those are the things that I personally think makes a good story. Okay, and the other question is, I know you mentioned in an interview this year you knew when you were 5 you were a writer. Is that something you just felt inside, or was it a more vast power that drew you closer into the writing realm? I guess that's a hard question. I didn't think of it when I was 5. I just started writing. I guess maybe it was a little bit of an escapism, to be honest, because I grew up in a ghetto, and I was a very scared child. I had to protect myself. I had to fight back. And when I wasn't outside, I was hiding. Just hiding because it was just safer. And those times that I was hiding, I would start writing. And I started singing too, and I did do some music as well. So for me, maybe it was a little bit of an escapism, a way to occupy my time and to dream of a better days, right? And I did leave the ghetto, so that was good. And so I don't know if that was the thing that the events in my life that made me a writer, or I was born a writer and it just came out of me because of what happened. I'm not sure. That's a big question up for discussion. It said, upon that, I assume that has led you on a journey to follow your dream of becoming a well-known author. So can you tell what struggles you faced along the way that could help you and upcoming writers to avoid? And has writing impacted your family? So I guess I could say some things about upcoming writers and what they can what they can avoid and what they need to do. One of the things that you need to do when you're an upcoming writer is actually do it. Finish that book, and look at it as a job. So if you want to publish, look at it as a job and finish that book, edit it again, and learn every possible thing you can learn and the best you can. So imagine that you're getting a job and you just started this job and you love this job. Like, you love it. It's the job you've been trying to get all your life, right? Do your best. Like, seriously, don't do this. Don't do this half. Half is good. You do this 100%. Do it 125%. Do it to the best of your abilities, and then you'll succeed. You'll succeed at anything, right? But you have to have that mindset. And the other thing is never give up. Just never. Don't. Just don't even think it's an option. And because if you really love writing, if it's in your veins, then you keep on doing it, right? Like, don't ever give it up. And the other thing is writing has impacted my family. Oh yeah, it has impacted my family so much. Before I started publishing my books, I've been writing for ever since I was 5. But so I have about, I don't know, I lost count, about 8 books in total, but only these 3 have been published. When I finally made the decision to, actually get serious about it and publish these books, it has impacted my family huge, because before then I was an accountant and I ran my own accounting business, and I was it's just a very different career, right? It's 9 to 5. It's very stressful. I'm gone all the time. Now I'm home all the time. And I live my work here. I absolutely live it all the time. There's times I wake up at 2:30 in the morning and I have to talk to my cover designer. Or I wake up thinking, oh no, I forgot to put this in the book, or I forgot to edit that, or something. And so it's like 24/7. But you know what? I love it. I love it, and I wouldn't give it up for the world. And is it teaching my kids something? I hope so. I hope it's teaching my kids to follow your dreams, right? It's not, the bad thing is it's not teaching them how to get a job 9 to 5. So I'm hoping that I can sort that out, maybe get it more into a 9 to 5 realm. I naturally write in the evenings too, so that seems to cause a little bit of problems with my imagination, right? So yeah, it's a very different career. Very different. And the last question says, how has writing in general, before and after these Olson series books, helped inform your life and relationship with yourself? And how has it helped you evolve as a person and your many roles and responsibilities? That's a loaded question as well. So how has it helped inform my life and relationship with myself? Well, I love myself now. And that's huge. I spent so many years not liking myself, like so many other young women, but I like myself now. I'm very comfortable with myself, and I'm very comfortable showing the world who I really am. And I spent almost my entire life not showing people who I really am because I was afraid that they might not like that person. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. And I think it's important to really do what your heart wants you to do in life, and to follow that passion and follow it with a fire in your veins. And I think that's what's living about. Like, that's living. To me, that's really living your life. Whether you succeed or not, it's, at least you're going for it, right? And same with my life. It has really made me see my life in a very different view, that I'm not just going to be this 9 to 5 grunt anymore, and I'm not going to take on too many responsibilities because it stresses me out, and I'm going to die of a heart attack if I keep on doing that, And I'm not saying that you can avoid stress. You can't. Stress is everywhere in your life. Even writing has stress, and book launch deadlines and everything. But, I guess you just got to look at it differently and not take it so personally and say, hey, you know what? This is my life. I'm going to protect my body and my heart and my mind. And if I can't take this stress, then I'm just going to time out and I'll be back in a bit. How has it helped you evolve as a person and your many roles and responsibilities? Well, same thing, yeah. Like I've evolved as a person so much that I am now comfortable showing my true side to everybody. And if you don't like it, well, then don't hang out with me, right? And my many roles and responsibilities, yeah, that's a tough one because like I've got so many roles and responsibilities now. I thought I had a lot when I was an accountant, but now I have way too many. And I have, I'm a mom. I'm putting my kids through high school and university, and I'm trying to, be a good role model for them too. And it's tough because, you got to balance so many hats, and now it seems like I've got even more hats. So the way I kind of look at it now is that I'm being forced to accept that I can't do everything. And that's okay. That's okay with anybody. You can accept that you're not perfect and that you can't do everything. Like you can't. You can't be in 25 places at once. And you can't wear 10 hats at once because you won't get anything done, right? You'll make mistakes everywhere. And then, and if you do make a mistake, hey, you just accept it and you admit to it and you just say, hey, you know what? I made that mistake. I can't not make mistakes because I'm human. We all are. Yeah, so that's the last question. And so I hope you enjoyed my book launch, and I hope thank you so much for joining me too. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate all the support that I've received from all the readers and followers and my relatives, everybody. I really support you and thank you so much. And so I'm hoping, like I said in the invitation video, that I'm really hoping to have an in-person book launch, and I'm really hoping to do it in New York. Might not be this year, might be next year. But if it's next year, then I'll have all 4 books in the series all ready for you guys. And then I was thinking of like hiring a band and having a good party at it. And won't that be nice? It would be nice to get back to normal, or whatever the new normal is, right? So yeah, so that's what I'm planning, and I appreciate everybody out there that has followed me, that I have inspired somehow, and to me that is dear to my heart. If I can inspire even 2 people, I've done my job, right? And so if I can inspire 1,000,000 people, I've done my job well, right? And I really, that is my purpose as a writer, right there. That's it. And I'm really glad that you've been there for me. Everybody has kind of stood beside me, and I really I'm so grateful for that. And keep posting, keep commenting on the stuff that I put out, and maybe one day I'll meet you in New York. Okay, bye-bye, and thank you so much. And the links are at the comments thingy on the YouTube. And the book, the paperback book, was released today. It might be still in review right now, but it should be available later on today, maybe tomorrow. But the ebook was released today as well, so it's all out there, and I hope you enjoy it. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful summer. And if you read the book during the summer, it's going to be an awesome summer read. Awesome. Like it will. It'll just be like, yes. Okay, take care. Bye bye.